Many young people today say they believe in socialism. Many young people today also say they believe that if the yellow Power Ranger battled Ant-Man, it would be the coolest thing that ever happened in their entire life. Many young people today are knuckleheads. But the popularity of socialism among these charming and attractive nudniks may lead many of you to ask, what exactly is socialism? And what the hell is a yellow Power Ranger? Socialism is a system for making everything fair and everybody equal. So you can pretty well guess how that crap storm of lunacy is going to turn out. You see, under capitalism, each person is free to use his time and his money as he's able and as he sees fit. He can use his time to learn a skill which makes him valuable to others, or he might take university courses in social justice and become a completely useless pain in the buttocks. If he does learn a skill, he can use it to earn money, which he can then spend in any way he wishes. If another person has used his time to invent something cool, like, say, an iPhone app that can see through women's clothing, that'd be really cool. Oh, sorry. Then the people who earned money can spend the money on the app, and then the app inventor gets to be rich. Meanwhile, the pain in the buttocks who studied social justice and is therefore of no use to anyone doesn't make any money, which is when he starts to say, hey, let's have socialism. See, under socialism, the money you earn and the time you spend earning that money do not belong to you. They belong to the state. Instead of you deciding what to do with the money you earned, the state takes the money away from you and gives it to people they think should have it, so those people can study social justice and be no use to anyone and then demand more money. Now, you may say, I earn the money. What if I don't want to give it to the state? Then the state sends policemen with guns to your house to arrest you and take your money. That's why the people who believe in socialism are usually the same people who want to make sure you can't own a gun so they can rob your money at gunpoint without your fighting back. You see, under socialism, wanting to keep your own money is called being greedy. Taking other people's money is called being generous. Pretty funny, huh? Under socialism, making yourself useful to others becomes much less worthwhile since you can't make money at it. That's why in socialist states, the really clever people don't do useful things like farming or science. They work for the state, where they have the power to take your money and even keep a little on the side for themselves. Ultimately, under socialism, there's a great big state, but no farmers and no doctors, so everyone starves and dies. Once everyone's dead, they're finally all equal. So socialism works. So, hooray. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray!
All right, we are one day away from the mailbag. I know, it's like, it's amazing. You're sitting there today, you have problems, you have questions, you are puzzled, you're confused. Tomorrow, clarity, it's like the clouds just parting. Send in your questions. We will answer them all. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life, possibly for the better. You have to subscribe, so go on over to thedailywire.com and subscribe. It's only a lousy $8 a month. If you just subscribe for the entire year, you get still Michael Knowles' book. You get Michael Knowles' completely blank book, Reasons to Vote for Democrats. And if we run out of them, we'll just send you paper. It'll be fine. We have a new sponsor. Hooray. Yay. And this is a good one because I listened to this. This is another podcast. I'm advertising another podcast. We should take ads on their podcast so people come back here after they listen. But this is from Wondery. It is a podcast called Found, and it is this really, really intriguing concept. This guy, Davey Rothbart, who worked on This American Life at NPR, he has this kind of obsession with finding weird little things, just random things, and then tracing them back to their sources and unraveling the whole story behind them. So it has this weird kind of random dreamlike quality. At this point, of course, people are sending stuff into him, but it could be like just a love note he finds or a note. One of them I heard was a note remonstrating with a class on a field trip, and he just traces it back to its source and finds out what's behind this thing. And you can find this and you can subscribe. It's on www.wondery.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and if you go on and listen listen to it and subscribe. It'll be downloaded just like I'm sure you're downloading this podcast directly to your phone. It's really different. It's really an odd thing, and it really he carries you along with it. You start listening to it, and then you think like, I got to find out this next part. I got to find out where this is going. Really, really interesting. Listen to a new episode of Found and subscribe to it. There's a new episode every Wednesday, and you can subscribe to it wherever you listen to podcasts, including this one. So I noticed something yesterday. I was sitting around after the show, and I noticed that I'm not hysterical. And this makes me almost unique among political commentators at this point, I think. And I started to think, well, why am I was listening to the language that people were using about the healthcare debacle. There's a word, debacle. It was a healthcare debacle, the fact that this law didn't pass, this bill didn't pass. Even guys like I really respect, like Charles Krauthammer, who was very high up on my list of top commentators, said this is incalculable damage to Donald Trump. And everybody kind of I was talking about yesterday how Trump is going to go left because he can't find any love from the Freedom Caucus on the right. And I have to say, I did complain about the Freedom Caucus. They have not yet proved. I mean, they chased out John Boehner. They're looking like they might chase out Paul Ryan. They have not yet proved that they can do anything but get in the way, but obstruct. Somewhere along the line, we conservatives, people like me and the Freedom Caucus, are not in the majority. Some point along the line, you fight and fight and fight to get as much of what you want as you can, but somewhere along the line, you got to govern. You got to let the government work, or else you just become the party of no. But I was thinking, a lot of this is about Donald Trump. I mean, ever since Trump was elected, the country seems to have been in this crisis mode. And I just noticed that I'm not. I'm not in a crisis mode. I do not think we are in an American crisis. And part of this is because I've been around for a long time. When I was a little kid, the president was murdered, okay? When I was a little kid, we're older than that, a major political candidate for president was murdered. When I was a little kid, one of the great men of America, a civil rights leader, Martin Luther King, was murdered. And even still in the first half of my life, Ronald Reagan, the greatest president of the 20th century, in my humble opinion, and in most Americans' humble opinion, I think, was shot. He was shot. That was kind of a crisis time, when your guys are getting murdered. That's like when American, leaders are getting murdered. That's a crisis. This is like, politics, and Trump is offbeat. But I just thought, it's time in the kind of aftermath as the dust settles from this healthcare thing. Let me just take a look at Trump, because I had all these fears about Trump. And I listed them, and I was very specific about them, and I kind of went back and kind of looked at what they were. And I thought, how's he doing compared to my fears? And I'll have a spoiler. I'll give you my end result, but then I'll show you what I mean. Is that every one of my concerns about Trump turned out to be true, but it turned out to be true in a fairly mild, benign form. So in other words, if you see a friend and he's drinking too much, you might think, oh my God, this guy's spiraling into alcoholism. But maybe he's not. Maybe he just is having a few drinks too much this time, whatever. And so you can have these concerns, but just because you have concerns doesn't mean they're going to get to the worst possible point that they could. So with Trump, I have found that like everything I was concerned about remains a concern with me, but none of it has developed into its worst form, and quite the opposite. Plus, things that I never expected, good things I've never expected, are really coming to pass, or it's still early, but are in the process of coming to pass. So overall, I'm kind of happy with where we are. So let me give you an example. All right, the first one, and I want to talk about this first because it's the one that's kind of in the news and in my mind. One of the things I worried about with Trump is that he's not a conservative. I'm a conservative. I want the government to be as small as possible. I want each one of us to be as free as possible. I want people to speak the truth and to value the truth and value facts, value traditions, even though I don't want anybody to be forced to follow traditions. I think traditions are of deep value. Trump's a Democrat. He's a New Yorker. What Ted Cruz said about him, New York values. I'm a New Yorker. It's true. Our values stink. And Trump is like this. And I was afraid, look, we're going to get a left-wing president. And my real take after he was elected, or even before he was elected, when I decided to vote for him, was that he would probably be a moderate, for all the bluster and all the loud noise, he would probably be a moderate president. So after this healthcare vote, as I predicted, I said if this goes south, he's going to start reaching out to Democrats. So don't let it go south. So he won't do that. But this is what he said, and Trump said he was going to reach out to Democrats. And Scary Spicer at a press conference was asked by Jonathan Karl, I think, of ABC, was Trump serious? And Spicer said, yeah.
Is the president serious about working with Democrats going forward after what happened with healthcare?
Absolutely. In fact, starting Friday afternoon through late yesterday, he's received a number of calls, as well as other members of the senior staff that had been working on health care from members of both sides, saying that they would like to work together, offer up ideas, and had suggestions about how to come to resolution on this and get to a House vote on this.
Wouldn't this require a...
I'm sorry, John, this isn't a free-for-all. Jonathan's asking a question.
But wouldn't this require correction for the White House? I mean, the president's branded Chuck Schumer a clown, worked entirely with Republicans on this bill. Would this require a serious change of course for the president?
To some degree, sure.
So that was one of my fears. Obviously, it's true. Trump is a flexible guy who has a lot of left-leaning feelings, and so that fear is still in operation. But the stuff that he's done on the right already, that is developing on the right already, has been very, very impressive. The Neil Gorsuch appointment, even though it hasn't gone through yet, has been very good and may result in them killing the filibuster. I mean, Schumer says he's going to filibuster this incredible appointment, and they may just, Mitch McConnell just may kill the filibuster altogether, which would be a really amazing thing, and then they'll just have an up and down vote on this guy. Rex Tillerson is out there talking to North Korea and saying we're done being patient with this. He's dealing with China. I mean, there's a lot of good options. Not a lot of good options. There are some really good options for basically getting rid of this regime in North Korea, which is just tormenting these people and keeping them in poverty because this fat, crazy guy, this fat, crazy family of fat, crazy people is running this country, And so Tillerson is really taking a good hard line with them and a strategic line. And Jeff Sessions yesterday, he came out and said, we're going to start penalizing sanctuary cities who are breaking the law. He talked about the fact that they're going to deny them some of these legal grants that they get. So this is, let's hear Sessions talking about this.
Failure to deport aliens who are convicted of criminal offenses puts whole communities at risk, especially immigrant communities in the very sanctuary jurisdictions that seek to protect the perpetrators. DUIs, assaults, burglaries, drug crimes, gang rapes, crimes against children, and murderers. Countless Americans would be alive today, and countless loved ones would not be grieving today if these policies of sanctuary cities were ended. Not only do these policies endanger lives of every American, just last May, the Department of Justice Inspector General found that these policies also violate federal law. The president has rightly said disregard for law must end. In his executive order, he stated that it is the policy of the executive branch to ensure that states and cities comply with all federal laws, including all immigration laws.
So one of the things I like about this, LA is threatening to fight back, Chicago, New York, one of the things I love about Trump when he is conservative is that he forces Democrats into the position of defending federalism, of defending the fact that in their localities people have the right to make their own laws. So when I have one side, the federal government, pushing conservatism, and I have the left pushing federalism, I'm a happy camper because I get a win in any direction, And I think, so this is one of the things, like I said, yes, Trump has left leanings. Yes, he's going to do left-wing things. I didn't win the election. My guy didn't win the election. My guy didn't win the primaries. Another guy did. I don't think any other person could have beat Hillary Clinton besides Donald Trump. So I think that is a plus. We're going to have to take some leftism with our meal. That's too bad. I'm sorry about that. But it hasn't been malignant, It doesn't look like it's going to turn malignant because of all the good right-wing things that he's doing that may actually last longer than any left-wing thing he does. So in other words, if he actually does get good appointments on the Supreme Court, that's going to have a much longer lasting effect. The next thing, boy, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop here and say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Also, to have a glass of water, come on over to thedailywire.com and subscribe so you can be in the mailbag. It's a little warm in there, but you get to ask questions and they'll change your life.